Hello everyone and welcome back to the Rachelle Anne Miller YouTube channel. Today I'm featuring a really simple Christmas card with the Holiday Birds digital stamp. This adorable digital stamp has been released a while back, I actually think last year. So there is more inspiration if you want to look for that on the Instagram, but also Facebook and the website. And there is another video with some inspiration by me on my own YouTube channel. I will try to link towards it in the description box. This card is really simple. I'm using the same pink combination for the birds. The details will be kind of basic Christmas, kind of red and greens, and then for the sentiments we will try to do a slight bit different. So I'm just coloring these birds. I don't know if you have seen my videos lately, but I'm into the pinks this Christmas, and actually it became clear to me once I got a new pink combination on paper, and I was really glad with it. This is actually the same pink combination, except that I left out the darkest one so that I have these soft pink birds. Now I didn't want to have them too pink, so I will mute it out a tiny bit with one E marker, the E41. That will be my final step for the coloring of these birds. I will also use it for like the details as the bellies as well as the tails. And I'm just flicking a tiny bit on the bottom of their bodies to get a kind of a muted pink. It's still pink, that's clear, but a bit softer. So of course the beaks and all of the feet, are those feet, paws? Paws is for cats, I think. Well, my English is limited when it comes to specific parts of animals, but these are just going in the same orange combination. Really simple, using two markers, but even on some areas it's really a lot to have two markers to combine, so it's all up to you. And then of course we have the lights, a tiny bit of this orangey color, and then we will go into the yellows. So far so good. It's really simple. But the thing with the sentiment, what we are going to do, also really simple, and it's not something new. But with the sentiments, we are going to mimic the bodies that I just created. It will be pink, but there will be a muted color in it as well. That way it kind of matches the birds. Now here on the details, I'm just coloring everything red. I'm not trying to avoid those tiny dots or the stripes. I am going to use my white jelly roll pen to add the white later on back again, so that we have white and red stripes as well as white dots on the scarf. But just in those tiny areas, it's really hard with your markers to easily just avoid those tiny details. So in that case, you can always just add it completely, and then you bring in your white jelly roll pen. I'm also adding white jelly roll pen details, which is something that I'm trying to do more lately to get more used to it and just get outside of that comfort zone. I don't think that white jelly roll pen details are necessarily needed or necessary, but it's just so adorable, and with cute images it just adds something more. Of course there are people that are really expert, in my opinion, in adding white jelly roll pen details, so if you want to learn more about that, you need to find those people. uh, I'm not that one, but if you want to try things out like I'm doing, then follow along and have some fun with that white jelly roll pen. And just try to add some details, and if you think you add enough, that's perfect. If you think you add enough, you can still add more if you want to. That's all up to you, of course. I'm not adding anything to the lights because I'm going to add some glossy accents on top later on. For the sentiments, I'm using this Bold Holidays set by Hello Bluebird. I'm going to die cut the birds with, well, the whole panel. I need an A2 size panel, so I'm using my basic rectangles. And as you can see, you can position these birds on the top, on the bottom. That really is all up to you. I ended up adding them at the top, and my sentiment is going right underneath. So I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and then for the Mary, I searched for some inks that were matching my coloring. So I took the spun sugar and I first stamped out the Mary, just as I also colored the birds in pink. Now to get that muted kind of color, I decided to take antique linen and I just added on the bottom half of the Mary. Now I first added it like this, and then the second time around I'm just trying to soften a bit uh, everything. Next up, I'm going to take another mini misty. I'm keeping the Mary in place because later on we will add something. The Christmas, I first stamped it on a piece of acetate to see whether I liked the positioning. It wasn't perfect for me, so I changed it up and added it again. The second time around, I was happy with placement, so I just stamped it on top of my panel. But you can test it as many times as you want to. I just didn't want to overload this video with it. Normally, I try to check with the grid on my Misty whether things are aligned straight. But when you have these adorable scripty words, it's really hard to see whether it's straight or not because, well, the script itself isn't straight. So it is all about feeling for me. So therefore, I just added, I wiggle a bit with it, and this time around, I was really happy with it. So I'm removing the acetate that is staying in my Misty, and then I stamped out the Christmas. Now, as I said, I kept the Mary in place on the other Misty. I'm going to reposition my panel back there, and I'm going to clear heat emboss on top of the Mary. Why? Well, I decided that that would also help with a softer transition between those two colors that I added to the word, but also the Christmas is on top and I really wanted it to stand out. So by adding the clear embossing powder now after the Christmas, because otherwise the Christmas wouldn't be an option, with the clear heat embossing, the Mary will really stand out and it will be glossy and it will be just really fun. So I just stamped with the Versamark a few times the Mary to have a really good impression, and I'm adding now the clear embossing powder. It's by Ranger, it's a fine detail, super fine detail that I have, and I'm trying to get rid of some excess embossing powder. You can use like a paintbrush, a really fine one. You can also use like your craft knife to get in those tiny areas. And I'm also tapping with my fingers to get rid of any excess. Next, I'm heat setting this, so I'm melting that embossing powder, which should really help this sentiment stand out, and it's just really fun that it is glossy. I need to use my clear heat embossing powder more often. I'm going to add this panel on top of my card base, and then we will finish this off with some final details like glossy accents by Ranger that I will add to the lights. And I'm also going to add some Nouveau crystal drops. It's something that I like to do on Christmas cards to the white elements of like Christmas hats and so on. It's a really tiny detail, but it adds something more, and it's really fun. Also, therefore, I also often use like a craft knife to get into those tiny areas or to get rid of any excess. This time around it worked out fine from the beginning, and this is my card. As you can see, the Mary is kind of matching with the birds and I really love how it ended up. You can of course change up the colors and that will just be a lovely variety of this card. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed it and I wish you all an incredible day. Bye!